Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. Recently, Moldova has moved to formally exit the Russian-led CIS, a Russian alliance of nations formed in 1991. Now, this exit may signal a definitive break from Moscow's post-Soviet orbit. And meanwhile, Hungary hardens its rhetoric toward Ukraine with an election campaign, and the U.S. pushes for a Ukraine peace window by early summer. To examine all these latest ideas and issues, now we're joined by Eusebiu Slavitescu, former Romanian diplomat. Thanks for joining us here in the studio. Good to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with Moldova. So this CIS, this organization, this goes back to the early 90s. You have various countries led by Russia. So if indeed this is a formal exit, first of all, what's the implication for the region of that? And why does this organization still matter, if at all?
Well, I don't think there's any strategic value to this organization. As you said, in 1991, it was Russia's intention to keep former Soviet satellites, to keep them on a leash. Because let's be honest, although it's called Commonwealth of Independent States, there's nothing independent about it. And there's no independence that Russia likes on its neighbors. And we have seen that. By exiting it now, it does nothing else but confirming a new reality, a new path for Moldovans. And we have seen them in the previous elections. Their choice is done and it's clear right now, right? The pro-European path irreversibly now, even with Russia pushing 400 million euros in disinformation, hybrid warfare, and all of that. So coming back, no strategic value to it, and it only confirms the choice of Moldovans in the past elections and from moving on. Okay. So I don't see what's the deal with this. Again, Moldova bilaterally can cooperate with the member states of this organization if cooperation is in Moldova's national interest.
All right. Also, other countries have moved away from the CIS. I think Georgia some years back. Ukraine is also out. Generally, do you see this as other countries also more or less slipping out of this organization, more out of Russia's orbit? Or
Absolutely. It's about that. It's about Russian sphere of influence. And Moldova is slipping away. It's why Russia, criminal Russia, invested huge amounts of money to keep Moldova under the Russian boot, so they can always instrumentalize it when they want it. And we saw it with the energy crisis, the beginning of last year, and so many other crises. And so these past elections in Moldova, where they clearly, transparently chose this European path, this is a way of telling Russia no more. And Russia won't stop here. They will continue to push because Moldova is slipping away from Russia. Just like Georgia wanted, but now it seems it's getting back with this government into that corrupted sphere of influence. Just like, look, everybody wants to run away. If this organization or any other was of any good, people wouldn't want to go away. Everybody wants to go away. There's a reason for that. And we know that reason all too well. Because there's no strategic value, as I said. Being in Russian sphere of influence means what? Means poverty, means institutionalized corruptions, and all other sorts of methods that are way far from the democratic way the Moldovans chose over and over again.
All right. So this exit, once it's fully formalized, I mean, it also kind of opens that next chapter in potentially Moldova looking at NATO membership. I know right now, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but constitutionally, they're not allowed to join NATO. Yeah. But do you see more of a trajectory now, Moldova being more into that path now? What does this mean for NATO and for a greater European connection?
Well, NATO already has a liaison office in Chisinau. So, cooperation on this basis, it's okay. But I don't think that's the focus right now. The focus right now for Moldova is European integration. Because this European integration brings real, palpable, results for Moldovans, whether we talk about visa-free liberalization, whether we talk about huge sums of money paid by allies, by the EU commissions, or by Romania. By the way, Romania is doing a lot on behalf of Moldova, not only in the EU, but even bilaterally. And, there's been this conversation after Maya Sandu's statement on, she would potentially vote for a union with Romania. which was just her own, personal opinion. And I'm really glad. But at this moment, there's no majority in Moldova for that. So I wouldn't focus that much on that topic. What I would focus right now, it's European integration. And Romanian's position has been very clear. Full support for Moldova's sovereignty, full support for Moldova's European integration. And by the way, there's already some form of practical union happening. Moldova and Romania, as we speak, they are more interconnected than ever, whether we talk about energy sector, infrastructure sectors, so on and so forth. So this is already happening. And with Moldova coming to the European family, where they actually belong, this is just a normal result.
Let's talk about also the European trajectory. Ukraine as well, a neighbor, is also on that path. And let's talk about the latest there. Pressure now, according to Zelensky, that the Americans have said they want a ceasefire by June. So then they will pressure both sides to do so. I mean, we've heard this before, timelines, pressure. How feasible is it this time around?
It's not. I mean, remember 24-hour peace? So a rush deal, in this case, is nothing but a prepaid ticket for the next war. We already know it, and we have seen it in the past years, 2008, 2014, so on and so forth. So what I'm seeing from the White House administration, surprisingly, is putting a lot of pressure on the victim and not on the aggressor. It's like the US abandoned Ukraine fully, and it has. Remember, the money, the weapons, everything is European or paid by the Europeans. So for the champion of the free world that the United States used to be, and that was great, to put pressure on the victim here, that's a 180 turn. And sadly for us, but I guess this is the new Trump's direction.
But also on that point, it has to be worth saying that I think it's 90% of those Patriot missiles are still supplied by the Americans. This is also still very heavy dependency at the moment.
It is, again, paid by the Europeans.
Yeah, true.
It's still very good. It could be a lot worse, of course.
Let's also talk about money here, because we have this new report, apparently, of $12 trillion package called the Dmitriev package that's been floated around, also then by the Russians. How much will that impact any of this? What are the implications of this?
I don't seriously take this in consideration, to be honest. I mean, Russia's GDP is 2 trillion. We're talking about 12 trillion. How serious this can be? And again, the United States is negotiating economic deals with an aggressor, while the same aggressor is raining down every single night ballistic missiles, drones and everything on residential buildings, on energy infrastructures, every single night. That's inherently wrong and inherently immoral, if you ask me. So the only way to peace here, and I've said it, I think, with you and many other interviews, it's raise the cost of Russia's aggression in Ukraine. That's the only way. When Putin will know there's no way forward, and he's not far from that. Look, he hasn't advanced basically at all, at colossal cost. How long can Russia sustain this? That's the only question. And to be very honest, and it's sad to say so, but the Western world has failed to help Ukraine push back this brutal, criminal, and illegal aggression, right? We just gave Ukraine enough to survive. That's terrible.
And as you said, rightly there, just on Saturday, I think 400 drone strikes, 40 missile attacks.
It continues every single night, every single night. What kind of country that is seeking peace is doing that?
Yeah, and we'll have to see if anything does come out of those new trilaterals, which are apparently supposed to take place potentially in the United States.
It's obvious that Donald Trump, or his administration, is not interested in, a good peace deal for Ukraine, for the victim. They're interested in making money.
Right.
That's it.
Well, we'll see on those next trilaterals where those take us. Let's briefly also go on negotiations still, also with Iran.
Yeah.
So again, this was also touted on a high level. It didn't involve directly the leaders of these countries, but nevertheless, there's going to be more of this. Where are we with this, and where do you see this continue? Any resolution there?
Well, I see Iran accepting any kind of deal because they are right now in their weakest position ever. But my trouble is with the United States. So Donald Trump asking people to protest, to take the streets, We now have reports from Time magazine and some other independent media telling that we have over 30,000 people dead. So that's a regime shooting at its own people. That's a criminal regime. And how do you negotiate with a regime that has for the past 30, 40 years chanted every single day in the parliament and in the streets, death to America? To a regime that has funneled and financed every single terrorist organization in the Middle East, basically the entire chaos in the Middle East? Or how do you negotiate with a criminal regime that killed American citizens?
Many, many threads here that we're talking about, and we'll have to follow them as they develop, as always here. But thanks for sharing all those insights. As always, a pleasure. Eusebiu Slavitescu, former Romanian diplomat. Thank you. And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks. We'll stay right here for more news and commentary. Goodbye.